Part 51. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 502. 502 Know Nothing. Brother Yu really is a wonderful person. Yekong haha laughed. There is no high-grade flying boat like Brother Yu underneath, and he is a poor man. He is a disciple in Yunfuzong, and is there any treasure to steal? The so-called barefoot is not afraid. That's the reason for shoes. Yu Minghui also smiled, walked into the lobby and sat down, took out a pot of spirits, filled 2 cups on the table, lifted a cup gracefully with his own motion, took a sip, and then laughed. If Li Daiyu is generous, maybe Uema believes you. But when you come up, you talk about the topic of killing and winning treasure, which shows that you are nervous, alert, and prepared. Doesn't this explain the problem? After Yu Minghui finished speaking, if no one was beside him, he bowed his head and drank, as if he was not worried about Yekong's sneak attack. His elegant movements and generously relaxed posture made Yekong very upset. A sly little fox, you can guess the clues when you listen to me. I'm not weaker than you. Sure enough, Yekong smiled, walked to the table, and didn't go to see the small cup full. Instead, he picked up the jug, filled 2 mouths, and laughed. Brother Yu is afraid of the acacia section. Let us be the young master. Well, this acacia sings, and it really tastes good. Yu Minghui laughed so much. Brother Li's plan is not bad. Guess Zhong Yu's identity without saying a few words. But he said, but his expression turned dark. But you had to say, you guess wrong. Yekong frowned, and Yu Minghui's words were contradictory. First of all, guessing the identity and guessing wrong, it is obviously contradictory, not inconsistent. Looking at Yu Minghui's expression again, Yekong laughed. Is it possible that someone has been robbed of his position? This is okay. Xia and Yunfuzong Cao Guang's ancestor also said, or we Yunfuzong can help you regain your status. It just means it. Yu Minghui laughed again. Master Li Hezi is afraid that he is the new disciple of Cao Guang's ancestor. Ha ha ha. The 2 little foxes are both very thoughtful people. After finishing the words of each organic front, they feel a little bit sorry for each other. Everyone's precautions have been eliminated, and it is more natural to talk. Yu Minghui asked, Brother Li, you Yunfuzong are thousands of miles away. Why did you come to the depths of the sea, and could it not be possible to have the same purpose as you? Yekong was stunned. This boy also came to find the beast? Although buddies groaned after drinking you, I can't let this happen. Actually, I didn't come by myself. I was held hostage. Yekong probably said something about the dead Yinzong. I thought Yu Minghui, the former young master, should have heard about it, but who knows that the boy was completely ignorant, and even asked why the dead Yin sect was good. Why did the major factions in Kangnan attack him? The kid didn't know anything about going to Kangbei, and Yekong wouldn't say with a big mouth. Now I'm a bit convinced that Brother Yu is not a young master. Haha. Yekong smiled and asked, so what did Brother Yu come here for? Yu Minghui took a sip of wine and said, don't hide Brother Li, Yu has NT had the Huan zone for 3 years, and I do NT know that the market is normal. In the past 3 years, Yu has traveled to every country in Kangnan and has also visited the Haunted Sea, these dangerous places in the secret realm. Just want to find a kind of condensed soul chalcedony. However, Ren Uema after hard work, 9 deaths, and never found it. This time I heard that there are some signs in the depths of the sea, so I came to try my luck. Oh, that's it. Yekong nodded. It would be okay not to grab him the beast. He asked again, but where is the vast sea? Where can I find it? Even if you have been in the sea for 10 or 8 years, I'm afraid you can't find the condensed chalcedony. Yu Minghui looked out of the window with a bitter smile. Brother Li guessed wrong again. I'm not looking for the condensed chalcedony. I'm looking for someone. Oh? Looking for someone in this vast sea. Yekong listened with interest. Yu Minghui was very generous, saying, I heard that in the depths of the sea, there is a person whose name is Wu Wu, and everyone calls him omniscient. It is said that this man knows everything, in the past, in the future, in this life and the next. He can answer you if you can ask the questions. No, isn't it a liar? Ye Kong asked again. Impossible, Yu Minghui shook his head. Everyone knows that his predecessor became famous 100 years ago. There are so many people who want to ask him questions every day. But he leaks too much to worry about heaven, and he can't return to others' face. Not coming out for 10 years. Ye Kong was a little convinced. If there were as many people as scammers can't wait to find them, how could they hide in the sea for decades? But this is another question. Since everyone is afraid of this, will they answer your question? Yu Minghui didn't explain his grasp, only smiled. Try your best. The most important thing now is to find the little island called Unknown. While they were talking, suddenly heard a bang. Fiaz, who didn't know what it was hitting, and then stopped. When I stepped out of the cabin, I saw a tall dam made of huge waves rising on the sea under the night sky. This dam is high and long, like a straight line that cuts off the surface of the sea. The flying boat hit this dam and couldn't move forward. Numerous pointed round heads emerged immediately behind the embankment. Ye Kong looked at it badly, but the demon repairers came to find a place. It was fine to accompany them to kill them, but they couldn't delay Yu Minghui. Dirty and sly humans, do NT think to find a helper? We Shui Yunzong are afraid of you. Tell you, we Shui Yunzong are crowds of people. Say, are you alone to pick us up, or are we beating you in a group? Yu Minghui didn't know what happened. He asked Ye Kong, this is. I just fought with them just now, but in fact there are no grudges, but these demon repairs are so unclear. It's better to kill all of them happily. Brother Yu, this matter has nothing to do with you. You go and find out if the island is big. I'll fix it myself, Ye Kong said. Yu Minghui smiled. That's a good thing. Why bother with them? Why not kill them? After Yu Minghui finished speaking, he flew away from the boat, sacrificed a stick-shaped instrument, and yelled, then let one of you be in charge of you. Unexpectedly, Yu Minghui's elegant appearance is actually a fierce man. Before she figured things out, she rushed out to kill the quartet first. This acacia is really evil, and all the instruments are sticks. Ye Kong naturally did not have any reason, and killed him with a flying sword. For a while, another battle began. The sword chi on the sea is vertical and horizontal, the stick shadow overflows, the direct kill is dark and the blood splashes the sea. What surprised Ye Kong was that Yu Minghui was not only fierce, but also almost insane, and his warfare was much stronger than himself. He didn't care about his injury or danger at all, and he was desperately trying to play. If it wasn't for the sea monsters who were too bad, otherwise, according to Yu Minghui's game, he would have been injured. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 503. 503 Deep Sea Singing. Hey, brother Yu, these sea monsters have no vengeance on you. Ye Kong killed a swordfish who wanted to sneak attack on Yu Minghui and rushed over. Yu Minghui returned simply, just for pleasure. It's so fast, it's so painful. I'm afraid brother Yu is like that, right? Ye Kong chopped a fish demon and said. Yu Minghui blasted the heads of the two krakens with a stick like a madman, and laughed. Yes. Is it for women? Yes. How do you know? Yu Minghui was said to be centrally minded, and suddenly hesitated. Small Ye Kong laughed and waved his sword to kill a siren who rushed over, saying, you can fall in love or you can fail, but don't cover up with your disability. Yu Minghui was stunned again, and then laughed loudly. Looking at Brother Li's appearance, he turned out to be a wonderful person, interesting. Both of them are temperamental people. A few words of dialogue, they both feel that the fate, the cooperation of Fijian in their hands is more tacit. In the thousands of sea monsters, if you go into a deserted land, you will kill one step at a time, and cut one step at a time. I saw wherever I went, countless sea monsters with different heads and feet, shrimp shell crab feet flying around. Even Yu Minghui sang loudly, a pot sings after chanting, the two swords are closed and divided, the sea and the sky are full of moonlight, and the blue waves are accompanied by the tide. Okay, Ye Kong shouted. However, Ye also had some discomfort. The guy Yu Minghui only knew to kill the demon. He turned a blind eye to those flying swords, but Ye Kong had the heart to choose, but he couldn't pull his face. People do anti-pick, they pick it by themselves, for fear of jokes. But looking at the dozen or so flying fish swords that have slowly started to sink, Ye Kong couldn't help but said, "Brother you were once the future master of the acacia section. I naturally saw a lot of money, and I am relatively poor. Now I store there isn't even a single spirit stone in the bag, the quality flying swords below are good quality." Li is embarrassed. Ye Kong went to pick, but he didn't expect Yu Minghui's eyes to light up. "Wow, it's really all Zongfi Fijian. I didn't find it. Hey, you're at least half of me. Brother me, also no food left." Ye Kong heard him say that he would vomit blood. "Your ancestors were stubborn. I knew it and said nothing to pick it up." Yu Minghui laughed, "I've been outside for a few years, and the spirit stones brought by Chuzong have already been used up. Yu Yunfuzong disciples can also use them to earn soul stones, and we have no specialties in acacia. Brothers and I look good, actually, there is a loss inside." Ye Kong cursed, "Why don't you have a specialty in acacia? It's really impossible, so go and sell yourself, both happy and profitable. I am envious dead." Yu Minghui laughed and said, "You really can't learn this. Look at your vulgar appearance, even if you have a black face, it's so barbaric, and you drink it with a jug. To be elegant, look at me, how handsome and beautiful." Ye Kong vomited, "Don't mind disgusting me, you're as elegant as me," picking up tattered ones. The two were killing the enemy while chatting and laughing. They were a bit heroic and amused. I don't even care about those siren who rushed up, but not all siren are so indifferent, they come soon. Ah! Suddenly, the softly sung sounds rang out on the sea, without the lyrics, but the melody was so beautiful, listening to it made people feel dreamlike, and their mood followed. Blue sea and night sky. Minjiao, singing. Everything seemed so romantic, but at the moment of the killing, it felt strange. When the song rang, the siren who couldn't kill anyhow, finally retreated. After a while, Ye and Yu Minghui stood with swords in the middle of the vast ocean. Later, I saw a black reef floating in front of the sea. The reef broke out of the water. Above the reef, there were actually 4 women with red fruit on their upper bodies, and the cricket-like song that day came from their mouths. Looking at their bodies again, they are so curvy, the 2 clusters on the chest are so full and touching, and there is a little bulge in the arc of Runyuan, and the shape is just perfect. Ye Kong swallowed a mouthful and said, "Wow, it's so beautiful. I can't think of such a beautiful woman in the depths of the sea." The man who thought that acacia should be good, but did not expect Yu Minghui to be like an old monk, turned a blind eye, and said, "It's all for you." Ye Kong shouted, "No, aren't you a man?" Yu Minghui shook her head and said, "I have a love in my heart, and I will not be interested in other women." "Then you are not in love." "Who says I'm broken?" Ye Kong shook his head and said, "All right, all 4 belong to me." But after the reef rose completely, Ye began to regret it. "Oh my God, it's not human, let's forget it." Yu Minghui laughed. "Is there any relationship between people, as long as it is a beautiful woman, all 4 belong to you?" "No, love is so heavy, Li hasn't been avant-garde to that point." It turned out that there were 4 mermaids sitting on the reef. The upper body was a human, and the fish was underneath. Let Ye go and fish, Ye Kong can't imagine it. "So what are we doing now?" "Kill them." Or leave after listening to the concert, Ye Kong asked again. Although Yu Minghui had fallen in love with a certain woman, he could not do anything to kill the four mermaids without any attack power. Let's wait and see. I believe this is the beginning, Yu Minghui said. Sure enough, as soon as the mermaid's song was over, a loud noise was heard. The entire sea surface was turning around, the waves violently rolled around, and the tide quickly receded. The black reef on which the mermaid was sitting turned out to be the higher. Ye Kong and Yu Minghui did not dare to carelessly, and quickly urged Fijian to rise. Wow, there was another loud noise that shook the sea surface. The huge waves rushing to the sides rushed to the sides, and the reef rose sharply up to 10 feet above the sea surface. Then look at it, where is this reef? This is a giant strange fish head. In the turbulent waves, a huge head appeared in front of Ye Kong and Yu Minghui. That head is so huge, let alone the body, it's just like it's a row of rolling hills. The giant sea beast stared at the two people in front of him. They looked like little ants to him. They roared and opened their huge mouths. It wasn't just a mouth, it was a blood-red black hole, and the sharp teeth were like two rows of giant mountains standing upright, by Sensen, Yin, and it was daunting. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 504. Acacia sylvestris. Not to mention Ye Kong, even Yu Minghui was stunned. I didn't expect to bring in this behemoth. It was too big. His flying sword was not as good as a corner of his teeth. Ye Kong finally said, according to the established plan, the top 4 belong to me and the bottom 1 belongs to you. Go to your grandma. Yu Minghui, who was so depressed, finally burst into swearing, cursing, you're an unscrupulous blackbird, I can't beat 10 of them, this is Kun Peng. They were talking, but Peng Peng didn't want to delay time. He had a big mouth like a black hole, 2 rows of giant teeth like a mountain, and he bit them in front of them. Looking at the blood-red deep hole, Ye Kong's eyes were all bright red, and the wet, stinky smell sprayed over it, almost suffocating. What to do? Yu Minghui was already shocked. Cold dressing. Plans change, withdraw, Ye Kong sang loudly, fled madly with his flying sword, and Yu Minghui followed. Under the bright moon, 2 small black dots fled quickly. Behind them were the giant teeth bitten by the giant Sun Peng, making a thrilling click sound. Beiming has fish. Its name is, and its size is thousands of miles, it turns into a bird, its name is Peng, and its back, but it does not know it's thousands of miles, it flies, and its wings are like the clouds in the sky. Yu Minghui's kid is really a bit too elegant, and at this time, he can still quote classics to explain Kun Peng. I know, King Peng Demon King is the head of those shrimp soldiers and crab generals, so don't sing poetry, and quickly release your flying boat. Yeah, Yu Minghui listened, and took the time to release the flying boat. This flying boat is a treasure of Acacia section. The flying speed is much faster than the flying sword. Well, they all said that I don't have any spirit stones, Yu Minghui sighed, grabbed a handful of spirit stones, and threw them into the mouth of the dragon statue on the console. The flying boat immediately turned into a streamer and fled away. I didn't know how long they had fled before they left. It's really fortunate to escape from such a huge monster beast. The kind started from the heart and can't stop. Experiencing risks together has increased the friendship between the two. Yu Minghui finally told the truth to Ye Kong. Actually, I was looking for the condensed chalcedony for a woman, Yu Minghui said, taking out a ball from the storage bag. The bead is white in color and can be grasped by one hand. When I look again, I see that there is a beautiful woman with white hair like snow in the bead. Vying, this is my new good brother, Yun Fuzong's Lihizi, is it very dark, Yu Minghui said to Yuanzu. Surprisingly, The woman was able to speak and laughed. It's very dark, but it's strong. Yekong noticed that he was wearing trousers and was somewhat indecent. He hurried out of the house and changed into a uniform of Yun Fuzong. Then he walked in. I've seen Sister Viang. Yekong came in as a gift, and he could see that Yu Minghui and Wei Yang in the ball were a couple with stories. Wei Yang looked at Yekong with a smile, and said, "Hi Brother Li, unfortunately, at this moment, the sister is not even present." Yu Minghui laughed, "Viang, you don't have to worry about it, Brother Li is richer than us." Yekong was depressed. "Brother Yu, this is your fault. There is really no spirit stone in my storage bag. It is clear that you are richer than me, more." Yu Minghui was speechless by what he said and had no choice but to say, "Then brother, I'm also difficult now. You say I can't send you this flying boat, or the instrument I use." Yekong laughed, "Seeing what you said, you can send me these things, and I can't ask for them." Just when Yu Minghui was relieved, he heard someone say, "Brother just picked a total of 18 flying fish swords. You might as well send me that. Dare to love this boy. Still remember this." Yu Minghui is about to vomit blood. You. Are you still a human being? You even count how many I have picked so clearly. Hey, you are really a talent. Wei Yang watched them quarrel in the bead, and covered her mouth and chuckled. Yekong didn't really want a sword, and after a bit of trouble, he stopped and asked, "Dare to ask Master Viang's status now? How could this be the case?" Yu Minghui said with a long sigh, "It's all my harm. Although the Hehuazong is rumored by the outside world, it's actually not like the rumors of the outside world. A monk can only have one partner in his life, and Wei Yang is my partner." Oh, it turned out to be this way. Yekong used to have a bad impression of Hehuanzong. It is rumored that the women of Hehuanzong are all very capable, and men are always intriguing. They all use secret skills. Cultivate people's essence. Of course it is, Yu Minghui said angrily. The outside rumors are nonsense. May I ask who can stand up and say that he has been picked up? Yu Minghui sighed again and said, "It's just because I am Acacia section handsome and elegant." The women learned the tenderness, and their eyes were full of affection. This was misunderstood. They thought that the monks of Acacia used their eyes and movements to seduce them. They dreaming. Yekonghong thought, "This Acacia is good. In the future, I will send my wives to study for them, so that they will have all kinds of charms, enthusiasm, and loyalty to themselves." But thinking about it is not enough. Hehuanzong advocates monogamy. When his wife finishes her studies, she will force herself to marry only one of them. Isn't it a big loss? In addition, Hehuanzong women like men to be handsome and elegant, but they are vulgar. No, this idea doesn't work. Sure enough, the women of Hehuanzong are the most jealous of their lovers. Wei Yang yelled at Yu Minghui again, and then said, "Master." Yu Minghui smiled and said, "Viang is not upset. It is not Minghui's vulgarity, but that Li Shidi is a rough man, and he speaks elegantly with him, and he can't understand it at all." Yekong fainted. "Your ancestor, I am a rough man, but also culturally. I'm not so rough that I can't understand anyone, right? But forget it." The boy pleased his wife, and he could not bear it. He wouldn't compete with you, just the 18 flying fish swords, he. I can't think of the monogamy advocated by Acacia, but I don't know why Sister Viang got here. Yekong asked again. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 505. 55 Sword Explosion. Yu Minghui sighed, "I said that it's an ordinary disciple, but the master is not like that. The patriarchs had training. The patriarch is the master of a section. He must attach importance to the family, to the disciple and to the lover. Other disciples must have no objection." Yekong can understand a little, but it is not convenient for guessing. otherwise Yu Minghui has to say that the outside world likes chaos to guess our acacia. Ye Kong asked, what does brother you mean? Yu Minghui smiled at Wei Yang, I'll just talk, and speak to Master Li with elegance, he won't understand. Ye Kong spit blood. Lao Tzu is afraid that it would embarrass you to say the speculation. You actually said that I didn't understand, oh, really a good person can't do it. Ye Kong smiled and said, yes, I do nt understand brother Shi, so please explain to me what you mean by the wide-ranging heterosexual relationship and the disciples, master brother, if you are thirsty for knowledge, hurry up and say it. Yu Minghui knew that the boy wanted to run on himself, and there was nothing he could do, only blushed and said, that means that the suzerain must have a lot of relationships with the female disciples in the zone, and the female disciples must not have complaints. Wow, take your wife? Talents, your acacia lords are all talents. Let your disciples be one and one wife, but the lords are widely used, and those wives who have been played can't have any opinions. Ye Kong squinted Yu Minghui, demo, just resigned and said how the Hehuanzong loyal to his lover is not a random XX school. It seems that rumors can't believe it. Yu Minghui was flushed with anger and yelled by Ye Kong, it's not what you think. Disciples of Acacia are loyal to their lovers. If it is not a door rule, which lord is willing to engage in random things? Cut, I'm afraid it's a mouthful, and I'm looking in my heart. Ye Kong despised it and laughed, the female disciples in Zhongli can pick whatever they want, and your master might be so happy. Yu Minghui angered, my master is a woman. Oh, that male disciple is blessed to be able to talk to the beautiful female lord, wow, just think about it. Ye Kong wanted to ask now, brother Yu, would you have been flower picked by your master and master? Mature women, wives, teachers, and apprentices, maybe a few fainted, this acacia is really BT enough. But more BT is still behind. Yu Minghui also said, because I am all loyal to the lover, this rule is useless. Later, in the 193rd generation of suzerain, the ascendant of the Hehuan ancestor in the upper world manifested his spirits, so that he will be the next generation of Hehuan lord. You must kill your loved ones before you can succeed. Kill it yourself? Isn't it? What rules are this, Sister Vying? It won't be. Ye Kong said in surprise. It's shit, it's me, I blame me. Yu Minghui was so emotional that he ignored his image, and pinched his hair. No, Ye Kong didn't know how to say it. He originally thought that Yu Minghui was nice. He didn't expect that this kid was actually a wife and demon. Seeing Yu Minghui's pain, Wei Yang was busy in the ball. Brother, don't blame me, I'm my own advocate. If I didn't deliberately seduce you to drink the juice of phantom grass, you won't be confused. Yu Minghui shook his head and said, no, I blame me only. If I make a choice early and give up the position of future acacia suzerain, you will not be stupid enough to use medicine to confuse my mind and let me kill you. Ye Kong can understand. Dare to love this one, not to kill, one who begged to kill the last woman's drug secrets, let the man kill. When the man is sober, he regrets it, but the woman's soul is gone. Only in the end was Yu Minghui found a part of the soul. Because her soul is incomplete, Wei Yang can't stay in the air like other ghosts. She can only hide in the snow soul beads, and it will disappear when she comes out. And Yu Minghui looking for a few years of condensed chalcedony is a very rare treasure of heaven and earth. This object can repair the damaged soul. Find this object, and let Wei Yang stay in for a while. That soul is just like a normal human ghost. At that time, when a flesh was found, a new sister Wei Wei was born. After listening to the original message, Ye Kong nodded and said, Brother Yu is a pair of lovers. I believe that God will open your eyes. Let's go now. Find everything and find out where the condensed chalcedony is. Yu Minghui put away Swimizu and laughed, when you see the seniors who know everything, you can also ask a question, but don't waste your chance. Yekong thought about it. Yeah, why was he thinking about them? You can also ask questions, but what do you want to know? What's the question? Think about it. Then, they began to look for the small island called was Hideo, and the flying boat searched in the sea. Those sea monsters didn't come out to find trouble. Often a group of sea monsters suddenly appeared, and rushed to attack, as if the flying boat had already been identified as the enemy. Yekong and Yu Minghui were bored anyway, and they were not polite. If there are swordfishes, they are the targets of their powerful blows. After each kill, the two have to quarrel with each other unevenly. However, they did not dare to stay too long. If they brought the Peng Peng Demon King again, it would be more than worth it. To be honest, even if the ancestors of Yuanying came, they did not want to mess with this huge water monster. After 10 days like this, Yekong's damaged meridians gradually recovered, and his spiritual training of Wushu was very effective. If he meditates and absorbs aura now, his speed will exceed 10%. Similarly, in the daily battle with the Kraken, Yekong also had a deeper understanding of the sword-cutting sword. Turning qi into silk and overlapping sword qi, he can use them flexibly. Although he still can't learn from Jinken's ancestors, this hate is endless, but he also learned the trick of sword tactics, sword explosion. This thing is the same as the corpse explosion of the dead yin section. The flying sword was burst with a strong and unmatched sword intention, resulting in huge killings. The power of bursting depends to a large extent on the quality of Fijian. Yekong is naturally reluctant to use those good quality flying fish swords. But there are too many garbage flying swords in his storage bag. On the most powerful occasion, a group of swordfish was killed by half of a substandard Fijian, and more than 60 Fijian were harvested. This business is a good deal. One lower grade flying sword is exchanged for 60 medium grade flying swords, and 5 of them have additional attributes. They make a lot of money, and Yekong can't wait to be attacked every day. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 506. Come to was Hideo in 506. Of course, Yu Minghui was not idle either. He also harvested a lot of flying fish swords. He originally thought that the kid was a big master and didn't look down on these flying swords. I've seen you so timid, young host. Yekong thought resentfully. However, Yekong can't help it, because living on the boat of others, eating other people's things, drinking the good wine of others, you can't let him take advantage of it anymore. What Yekong didn't expect was that Yu Minghui's cooking skills were so good, so every night, Yu Minghui burned seafood ale, Yekong grilled a few sea fish, took out a happy yin and drank a few sips. Appreciate the moon, listen to Tao. Yu Minghui took Wei Yang out and talked for a while, and it was a happy life. Finally, more than half a month later, Yu Minghui found something. Brother, the astrolabe has detected the position of the unknown island, Yu Minghui said excitedly. Really? How far? Hurry up. Yekong was also pleased. Yu Minghui calmly said, it's not right, then Shui Yunzan Kunpeng the Demon King chased us for so long, and still attacks every day. Now we are going to the unknown island, isn't it to bring the misfortune to it? I heard that all the seniors have repaired it's not high, we can't hurt people. If he is not happy, we will go for nothing. You think rationally, Yekong thought about, then we bypass the unknown island, and when we are far away, we kill all our eyes and drive back. Yu Minghui nodded, okay. Fiazhu walked straight and ran straight for 2 days, then Yekong put on the hidden charm and got into the water. After being tracked these days, Yekong had long known what the eyes of the surveillance were, and the squid. This fish is small and swims very fast. It has a pair of eyes with dark circles, not to mention being clever. The most important thing is that there are so many fish that can often be seen at sea, and they also have their own way of contact, so it is best to use for tracking. In the water, unlike in the air, any movement in the water can cause the water to move quietly. Those black-eyed fish are savvy, and Yekong is not too close to the hidden charm. However, Yekong also had a solution. After entering the water, he remained motionless in the water and waited for the 4 or 5 squids to swim past him before he could move. Hey, break your back, Yekong took out Wang Tingxi's black logo paw from the storage bag. This stuff has been refined by Yekong. Those black clouds are not ghosts, but corpses, very powerful corpses, and I do nt know where Wang Tingxi got them. This corpse is also the same as Tiankitabeo. The older the better. The corpse on Ropa is at least 10,000 years old, and it has almost become refined. This is a good thing, otherwise it is not the best tool. Yekong sacrificed Ropa, and immediately he was wrapped in black corpse, and Yekong separated 5 corpses, let the corpses slowly surround the mullet with the sea water. According to prior agreement, Yu Minghui stopped the ship. The mullet also stopped, so it was more convenient for Yekong to kill them. 5 dark clouds quickly surrounded the black-eyed fish, and at this time, the black-eyed fish were still unaware. It seems that these guys have good long-sighted eyes, but not myopia. Let me make grilled fish fillets, Yekong ordered, and the 5 black mists suddenly appeared and shrank. The black-eye fish was caught off guard and all stuck, but Yekong's seafood grilled fish was out of reach. By the time the corpse dissipates, the 5 fishes have become Bisensen's fish bones. This corpse is really going to be psychic. After eating the fish, Yekong can clearly feel the comfortable and satisfying mood of corpse. Come on again. Then Yekong was in the sea, killing all the way back. Not only the black-eyed fish, but also all the other fish were killed, so as to ensure that the route was not leaked. The flying boat also decelerated and traveled back. When approaching the unknown island, Yu Minghui simply took off the boat and dived into the water. Well, my flying fish sword is now they are all real humans, and spiritual communication in the water is not a problem at all. Yu Minghui couldn't help sighing. They were so hiding from the school of fish that no one was attacking naturally, and the flying fish swords that had been delivered to them were gone. Look at you as elegant and daring to be richer than me, Yekong despised him. Yu Minghui ignored him, and then sighed, it's all Chinese products, good quality and some additional attributes, are good goods. If you meet the master of the refiner, you can also use this flying fish sword as a sword embryo, refined into top quality instruments, even the best quality instruments. Yu Minghui became more and more sad the more he wanted to. He couldn't help but said, when I find the chalcedony and curvaying, I will go to the sea again and make a fortune. Yekong watched him ruthlessly, and his heart was so funny that the young master of this acacia was so poor. Forget it, those swordfish have been killed by us for a while, it is estimated that they will be exterminated. You haven't noticed that swordfish have become less and less in the last few days? I do nt think there have been any for decades. These swordfish is very difficult to recover. Yekong said. Yu Minghui's wealth plan could not be realized, and he sighed again, then asked, how many have you harvested in total? More than 1,000, Yekong did not hide. I rely on it. You die. You pick so much, the longer Yu Minghui stays with this kid, the more chances he will have. Quality. Look at you, the exit is dirty. Be careful that your mother-in-law does not want you, Yekong reminded. Yu Minghui laughed and laughed, don't blame me for swearing, but your number surprised me. A flying sword can sell an average of 1,000 spirit stones, 1,000, which is more than 1 million. Ye became a millionaire, and he was happy, but he heard Yu Minghui sigh again, I have just picked more than 900. Yekong was furious, okay kid. You are the ancestor. You do nt say so much when you pick it yourself. You are so surprised when you pick me 1,000. It's too much, just let you eat meat and watch others drink. Is soup jealous? This time, Yu Minghui smiled. Quality, quality, and the exit is dirty. Be careful of your mother-in-law. Well, do you have a mother-in-law in the dark? Be careful, I pump you, a rough man finally got angry. After another day, the two finally came to the unknown island without knowing it. Floating in the air, they both put on their own martial arts clothes and visited senior men. It was rude to have untidy clothes. Let's take a bird's eye view of the unknown island. I saw that the small island is 100 square meters in size, not too big, but not too small. It is the largest land that Ecchi saw after he went to sea. There are mountains on three sides of the island, and the hills are not high and lush. On the other side of the island is a small flat bay with 2 or 3 fishing boats. Surrounded by hills, there is a small village on the flat ground, and there are more than 20 cabins in the village. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 507. 507 Little Brunette. At this moment, in the morning, smoke was rising from the cabins, and it was a quiet and peaceful scene. The two landed on the beach, walked towards the village, and came face to face with an 8 or 9-year-old girl. The little girl was naked, she wore a pair of floral pants, her whole body was tanned, and her eyes were big. Little sister, ask you something. Ecchi hurried out a spiritual fruit. The little girl was not afraid of people. She took linguo and asked, I know everything. They all said that I was a bag from the village. Who got the fish and who dug the white stone? All the dried fish at home was stolen, and I know everything. Ecchi laughed, picked up the little girl, and asked, we're not asking this, we're looking for someone. His surname is Wu. The little girl rushed and said, our village is named Wu. Yu Minghui busily said, his name is Wu Buzzy. The little girl lost her head and shook her head. I haven't heard it. Maybe it was renamed and changed its name. Ecchi asked in a different way. He is a cultivator, well, it doesn't mean mortals, he's a man who can fly. The little girl not only did not answer, but smiled. Big brother lied, only birds can fly, and people have no wings, how can they fly? Yu Minghui was dumbfounded. Obviously this village is full of mortals. Yu Minghui didn't give up, and continued to ask, so have any outsiders come to your village? The little girl said, I haven't seen outsiders in my life. Your two older brothers are the first outsiders I've ever met. Yu Minghui was completely desperate. Ecchi quickly comforted, how long has she been in this life? Then Senior Wu has lived in seclusion for decades. Let's ask an adult to find out. They followed the little girl to her house, and the little girl's parents were at home. It is rare for these fishermen to see strangers, and they are very polite and lead them into the house to invite them to have breakfast. Ecchi didn't quit, and asked about the situation on the island while they were eating. It turned out that there were 20 households in this village. Everyone was named Wu. As for who the old ancestors were and what the illusions were, they didn't know. However, they didn't originally live on this island. Only a few decades ago, their village chief told them that there was shiny stones somewhere on this island, and they could pick up money for sale. Hearing here, Ecchi and Yu Minghui looked at each other, and they had doubts about the old village chief. If they were not immortals, how would they know that the stone was worth it? They asked about the news of the old village chief, but who knows, the fisherman said that the old village chief took a few men and went to sell the stones outside. Fortunately, it has been a long time. If there are no accidents, I will be back in a few days. As soon as they arrived, Ecchi decided to stay and wait for the old village chief to return. The fisherman couple were very enthusiastic, and they stayed, but they did not quit. Just staying like this, the two crowded into a room, making Yu Minghui very dissatisfied. Fortunately, there is no need to sleep, both of them are meditating, otherwise Yu Minghui would not be able to bear this rough man. The next day, before the old village chief came back, Ecchi teased the little girl and asked, "Little sister, my name is Lihiza, what's your name?" The little girl yelled, "I don't have a name, they all call me a brunette." Yekong laughed, "Everyone else calls me a blackbird. It's a fate, or I'll help you think of a name." The fisher couple also did not know each other and said, "Big brother, we wanted to ask the old village chief to give a name to the brunette, but the old village chief said that it doesn't matter if she chooses a name. We can't say. Since the big brother, if you are interested, ask your big brother to worry." "Hey, what if you don't have a name? I'll come," Yu Minghui coquettishly said, "the so-called Yiren is on the water side. I see that the brunette is Wu Shuiyi since she is a girl by the sea. How about it?" Yekong shook his head. "You're too texty, not good. I'll just keep it simple and call it Wu Yang Yang. It has both the meaning of ocean and the meaning of joy." Yu Minghui yelled, "What's the name, and the meaning of goats and sheep?" "Wu Shuiyi is so good, more poetic, more romantic." But what made Yu Minghui vomit blood was that the fisherman couple identified Yankee's Wu Yang Yang. No wonder, the fisherman's couple didn't know how to read. They were too advanced and they didn't understand. Although Yekong took it casually, the little girl was very happy and shouted, "I have a name." As a consequence, 7 or 8 boys and girls in the village did not have names, and those parents brought their children. When he came, he said, "Our names are from the village head, and he is literate in the village. But in the past 10 years, he has refused to rise, so that children under the age of 10 have no name." Yamao also emerged on a whim. There were so many names that made him think, and he couldn't think of it. This glorious and difficult task was left to Yu Minghui. While Yu Minghui was hiding in the room and thinking, "Brunette, no," Wu Yanjiang's younger sister pulled Yekong out. "Brother, I'll take you to see the shiny stones," the little girl whispered. "Okay," Yekong was overjoyed. He had long remembered this, but he was embarrassed to say that now that the little girl took him to take the initiative, he naturally went to it. "If you encounter any strange treasures, you are well developed. I crossed the hills around the island and came to the bottom of a cliff, and I saw a shiny white irregular crystal in the gap between the rocks." Yekong pinched the crystal with his hand and felt a weak aura wave in it. Yekong was a little disappointed. According to the richness of this aura, it can be judged that this is not a valuable treasure. It is no wonder that for decades, no monks have come to the island to treasures. It turns out that this stuff has no need to snatch. Yekong guessed what kind of siren's egg this is. It can give some spiritual power to the monks during the refining period, and it is basically useless to the monks in the later period of refining. In the early and midterm monks, if they came here to across the vast sea, the danger was too great, and no one would do such a stupid thing. "Give it to you," the little girl laughed. Yekong was embarrassed to hit her, pretending to put it down, and collected the monster egg, saying, "I just need it." The little girl smiled happily. Although she was dark and thin, she was so brilliant. "Brother, these stones will appear in the crevices of the reef every so often. You are well informed and you must understand what this stone is for," the little girl asked, looking up curiously. "These are not stones, they are eggs of sea beasts," Yekong answered. The little girl was a little unbelievable and asked, "Really, but I think eggs and duck eggs are easily broken. Why is this egg harder than a stone?" Yekong laughed, "Eagle strikes the sky, shallow fishes, tigers and forests, lychee grassland, Dacian world, all things frost and freedom to compete in the sky. All kinds of beasts have their own lifestyles and characteristics. How can one use one? The characteristics of beasts cover everything. The world is big, it's amazing, there are a lot of things you do and know, waiting for you to grow up, to observe, to discover." Although the little girl didn't fully understand what Yekong said, but listening to this, she was already curious about the future and the outside world. "When I grow up, I have to travel around the world like an elder brother and be knowledgeable." The little girl nodded. "Well, there is hope when there is an ideal. Yekong reached out and touched her head. Just then, an old sigh came suddenly behind him. To the reader. 7 more to send on, summon the next recommendation ticket. I recommend a friend's book Evil Charm God Repair. Old author Lian Feng works, is written golden scale fragrant repair, you can go and see. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 508. Weavua. Grandpa, you are back. The little girl turned her head and jumped over and pulled the sleeves of the people. Yekong looked back and found that the man was an old man, wearing plain linen, and was as tanned as the little girl, and the old wrinkles were like a knife and a knife. This is a very ordinary old fisherman. Yekong was still happy at first, but he looked a little disappointed in the appearance of the old man. He didn't look like an immortal, and even less like an expert who can know the past and present. Look at it again with celestial eye surgery. Yekong's heart was half cold. This is a very ordinary mortal old man with no practice at all. The old man caressed the little girl's head lovingly, and then came over to laugh and said, "Friends from outside, what you say is good. The world of thousands, all things frost and free competition. But in this world, you are not free. And the sea, and the sky and the sky. In the midst of it, someone is in charge, and what is the word freedom?" Yekong froze for a while. The old man's knowledge is not that of a mortal. There is a sea in the sea, there is a sky outside. Yekong said, "At least, our hearts can be free." The old man shook his head. "Even if you are free in your heart, it is only you at best. But how can you say that everything is free? If you want to be free, you can only stand on 9 days and look down at the earth, then you will have real freedom and freedom for all things," said the old man. His eyes sharpened immediately, as if in the yellow eyes, suddenly there was the bright light shone and the blade was sharp. Yekong immediately understood that when he met an expert, the old man was probably the person he was looking for. The predecessors made sense, and the younger Yun Fuzong Lihiza was taught. Yekong quickly saluted. The old man smiled, "I'm not a senior, but only a few years old." After the old man said, he took the little girl and sat on a rock by the sea, and said, "Little friend, do you know how this beast egg was born?" Yekong shook his head. "I don't know, ask your seniors." This egg was born to the lower order sea beast three-eyed turtle. The three-eyed turtle loves to eat eggs of other beasts, especially the eggs of reef gulls. The reef gulls lay eggs on the top of the rocks, but they are still uncontrollable. Three-eyed turtles, their eggs are always stolen by three-eyed turtles. So, the reef gull saw the eggs of the three-eyed turtle, and he was also very polite. He tried to dive to the bottom of the sea while fighting for his life, and snatched the eggs of the three-eyed turtle, and threw it on the beach, making it impossible to hatch. Yekong laughed, "You do the first day, I do the 15th. This reef gull has character." The old village chief also smiled, and continued, "I was thinking, if these three-eyed turtles don't eat the eggs of the reef gulls, then everyone can live together peacefully and raise their children." Yekong shook his head and said, "Want to eat better food and live a better life, this is the nature of all things, plus the three-eyed turtle's wisdom is not open, how does it know so much? Our hometown there is a sentence, you will have to pay back sooner or later. But even if you know you want to pay back, how many people do you have, so why not come out and hang out? Come out and mix it up, sooner or later." After listening to the thought, the old village chief nodded, and after a while, he turned back and said, "Little friend, you." Yekong said, "In Ziyayun Fuzong Lihiza, my predecessor called me Xiao Li." But the old man smiled and called, "Little friend." Yekong Kong stunned, his ancestors, why Laozi became more and more useless, facing a mortal, even hiding his head and covering his face, what is there to worry about? "Senior, Yekong, the capital of the south, has met seniors," Yekong said with a fist. The old man smiled and said, "Yegenren, don't hide it, Aging is Wu Wuzi you are looking for. 50 years of aging has not answered anyone's question. Ye Genren today answered the question of aging and thinking for a long time, so aging give you a chance to ask questions. How good it is for someone who knows everything to ask you questions. Then hurry up, such as when to get rich, when to marry a beautiful wife. But Ye Kong shook his head and said, Senior Wu, here next time, I'm here with a friend of the Acacia sect, and I want to find out where the chalcedony can be found. You are enthusiastic, Wu said, smiling. Well, one question is also asked, and two questions are also asked. Come to me in the village shrine tonight. Ye Kong returned to the little girl's house and told Yu Minghui the news. The boy heard that the old man didn't refuse at all, nor did he look embarrassed. Bachan knew the place where the chalcedony was condensed. So he hid happily into the room, released Swimizu, and told Viang the good news. At night, after dinner, more than 20 households turned off the lights, and Ye Kong and Yu Minghui went out to the shrine. In fact, the shrine is a small wooden house, similar to other people's houses, in the middle of the village. At this moment, only this one is lit with lights. The night sky is vast, the wind is full of moon, the ears are filled with the sound of eternal waves, and it is dark everywhere. Only a little light in that room can bring infinite warmth and longing illuminate the future and illuminate the future. Crunch Ye Kong and Yu Minghui pushed open the wooden door, and saw Wu Wuhan sitting cross-legged in the middle of the hall, eyes closed slightly, waiting for them both. You ask first Ye Kong and Yu Minghui Jian gave a little, then went out of the door and closed the door. This condensed chalcedony is a different treasure. Although Ye Kong has no heart, it is better not to listen to this kind of thing. In case Yu Minghui didn't find it, he thought he had leaked the news, so he might as well not listen. Standing outside the hut, Ye Kong felt his long calm heart suddenly shaken violently. Let's go back. This is not my world. I'm going back to my world. Although there was a battle in that world, although it was also very cruel, but it was infinitely better than this unlucky Zi Kang seeing. Watching TV, eating a burger, taking a few younger brothers, collecting protection fees, teasing the little girl. Yes, this is my life, this is my life of Ye Kong. What a wonderful life without so many fights, not so many fights, and a peaceful life. So I'm going back. In the past, Ye Kong had no hope of returning to Earth, so he never thought about it. But now the opportunity is in front of me. The desire to return to the Earth becomes instantaneously strong. Irresistible, unable to get rid of it, extremely powerful. It has been almost 10 years since I came to the Kangnan continent, but Ye Kong still can't position himself as a person in the Kangnan continent. He has no sense of belonging. He always feels that he is an Earth person and an Earth hooligan. I really want to go back. Therefore, Dang Yueminghui walked out of the room with a contented smile. Ye Kong couldn't wait to walk into the hut. Senior Wu, I think you should know that I am from another place. I want to ask, where can I find the way back to my hometown? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 509. Ask again in 509. I want to ask, where can I find the way back to my hometown? When I heard Ye Kong's question, I knew it for a while. I probably didn't expect Ye Kong to ask this question. Then he shook his head and answered two words, I don't know. Ye Kong is depressed, don't you know everything? Why is this problem bothering you? Could the old man not want to say? Ye Kong busily said, Senior, if you can tell me the way back to the Earth, the junior also has a lot of instruments and exercises, and all will be given to the senior. I wondered, what is the use of old decay? 50 years ago, old decay saved an old friend, suffered a condemnation, lost all his mana, and could not cultivate in this life, so I am not interested in any ancient artifacts. Ye Kong said again, what are you interested in? Coward, all of a sudden, She cried, "Did you forget your mission? Did you forget your hatred? And your family, your woman, your friends, your commitment to them, you all forget it. You have to leave it all alone and leave alone." Yekong suddenly freezes. Yes. I promised that Shi-san's mission had not been completed. My hatred for Lu Zhen and others has not been reported. I said to my old lady and the women, if I want to take them to cultivate, how can I go away? And my pursuit? I want this mountain to bow its head, this mountain must bow its head. I want this water to flow backwards, this water will flow backwards. I want this world to be as beautiful as I imagine in my heart, so that innocent people will no longer choke to death, so that the cultivators can soar, and those evil demon cults will fly down and smoke out. These are not achieved. How can I leave it? I am afraid even if I return when I reach the earth, I will regret it. Senior Wu, thank you for helping me dispel my demon. Yekong was very sincerely grateful. I wondered before I smiled. You go to rest first, think about what questions you should ask. You know, there is only one chance, don't ask those boring questions. Thank you Senior Wu. Again Yekong turned his fists and turned out. When Yekong's figure disappeared, Wu didn't know, seeing the moonlight stones exuding warm and dim light, for a while, then said to himself, I'm just a little person, just a little monk, but God gave me seeing through all my eyes. I will use it, and use it where it is needed. Even with the condemnation, my heart will not change. Wu didn't know what to say, and laughed again, since all come out to confuse. Are you afraid to pay it back sooner or later? Xiao's words are really interesting. Ha ha ha. Out of the small ancestral hall, Yu Minghui greeted with excitement and asked, how is it? Are there any answers to any questions you asked? Yekong shook his head and smiled. I went in only to find out that I didn't think about the question I wanted to ask, so I'll ask it another day. Oh, Yu Minghui nodded. Yeah, what a chance, think about it. As he walked back, Yekong asked, what about you? You should know the source of Ningxuan chalcedony, would you like me to help? Yu Minghui already knew where the condensed chalcedony was, but listening to Yekong's question, he frowned again. Yekong quickly said, I don't want to grab that thing from you. I just want to help. You don't need to. Yu Minghui hurriedly said, my brother has misunderstood. I'm not worried that you will grab chalcedony. It's just that the place is too dangerous. How can a labor brother be in danger for me? Yekong looked at him as if he was false, and suddenly said, brother you and I are the same as before, don't talk about any danger. If you need me, I will go with you without saying a word. You get chalcedony. Meet by chance, but can help each other selflessly. Yu Minghui heard his voice choked, but he refused Yekong. The place is really dangerous. The more enthusiastic the younger brother is, the more I can't get involved with him. In the next 2 days, Yekong was thinking. What questions should he ask in order not to waste this opportunity? Ask when can I take off? Or ask where is the Yuan Jingguo that let mortals cultivate immortals? Or ask Huang Pai's ancestor what pipa beads they used for me? Or show him the order of Zi Kang? Yekong is somewhat difficult to choose. Yekong was wondering what questions to ask, but Yu Minghui couldn't help it. He knew the source of the condensed chalcedony, and of course he wanted to leave quickly and look for that thing. Although Yu Minghui wanted to leave quickly, but Yekong didn't leave, he was also embarrassed to say that he only had to make a smile every day and waited for Yekong to finish asking quickly before leaving. Yekong was pondering the problem for the first 2 days, and did not notice the strangeness of Yu Minghui, only to discover it on the 3rd day. Brother Yu, what question do I really want to think about? Anyway, my injury is not completely good. I want to live a few more days, so you should go first, Yekong said. Yu Minghui was pardoned with a joy on his face, but he was thinking that he would be willing to accompany himself to take part in the danger. Will he not be able to wait for a few days? Yu Minghui also felt a little sorry. If I don't stay for a few more days, you should think about it, Yu Minghui said again. Just go. You may not be able to think of it if you stay here. When Master Viang wins the house, I will send a voice to Yun Fuzong to invite me to drink. Yekong pushed Yu Minghui. That is of course. Our He Huanzong's anxiety grown before. It's Kangnan famous wine. Let you have a good time. Yekong laughed. What kind of wine you are drinking is almost, but it tastes good, give me half of your inventory on board. In fact, Yu Minghui was going to return to his ancestors for help this time. He will soon return to his ancestors. He simply gave Yekong all the happy chance, a lot, hundreds of caddies. I can't think of the storage of the flying boat. The function is also very powerful. It's hard to leave Yekong. When Yu Minghui leaves, he puts all the wine into the storage ring, where there is a lot of space, leaving 2 pots at hand for drinking. But unfortunately, I didn't get it before Huan. His wife Yu Minghui did the same. He didn't use the wine, so he didn't bring it when he went out. Then Yu Minghui left and was very reluctant to leave. After all, at sea, the two got along day and night, together to enjoy the moon, kill the enemy together, and escape the hunting of the King Peng Demon King together. It can be said that the two had formed a deep friendship. Looking at Yu Minghui's perseverance, Yekong laughed, the confidant in the sea, if the world is close. You and I are all walking on this difficult immortal road. Don't worry about the day when you meet, don't be like a woman. Yu Minghui was startled, the confidant in the sea has the best of neighbors. Good sentence, good text, and unexpectedly, Master Li also learned the poems of others to chant. Yekongki said, how do you know that this is someone else's verse, can't it be my own writing? Yu Minghui laughed, it's okay for you to say some swear words. Such an eternal quatrain can't be sung if you kill it. Yekong angered, get out. I'm annoyed when I see you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 510. May 10th. Cheerful Fisherman. Yu Minghui laughed, took off the boat, left the unknown island, and disappeared at the end of the vast sea level. Yu Minghui left, Yekong didn't worry about the way to the sea. I wonder if those mortals on the island could go to the sea to find the mainland, not to mention Yekong's repair, as long as he had a compass to indicate the direction. So Yekong lived on the island temporarily. He lived in the young girl's Wu Yanjiang's house and practiced every day. Then he played with the children and the life passed quickly. After blinking for more than half a month, Yekong hadn't thought about asking. That day, the little girl pulled Yekong to find the egg of the three-eyed turtle next to the reef, and asked, Big brother, why do you say those rich people bought this turtle egg back? Of course it was, Yekong blurted out. After talking, I thought that the three-eyed turtle egg had a weak spirit and was useless to itself. But because of less spiritual power, mortals can also eat. Mortals like little girls, eating these spiritual foods can also strengthen their bodies and help them to live at sea in the future. Go back and call all the children in the village. Big brother invites you to fry turtle eggs today. The little girl listened to the joy and spread her little feet and ran like a few of the more than 20 households with children. The small village is so big. With turtle eggs for food, they rarely go to sea, so after a while, the whole village knows about adults and children. A small village, men and women, young and old, more than 60, all came to the little girl's house. There wasn't enough standing in the room, everyone stood in the small yard. Everyone in the village knew that this was a stone. When Yekong came, they knew that the yin-yin, shining, and irregular stones turned out to be eggs. Of course, some people doubt it. You said that this is irregular, How did the spiky egg come out? Is the part of the female turtle laying eggs iron? Doesn't it hurt? This question is too esoteric and evil to explain in this book. But even if they knew that this thing could be eaten, the fishing villagers didn't even think about it. First, the shell is too hard. It is estimated that even if it is chopped for a day, the result is that the knife is alright. Another problem is the reluctance of fishing villagers. You said that this egg is a little bigger than your fingers. Who will eat it? Take one out and exchange it for 12 silver, which is enough to buy hundreds of pounds of grain. But this is not a problem. Yekong took out the small sword weapon and turned the gas into silk. Yekong's control over the formation of gas and silk at this time has reached a pure level. The light filaments that the sword gas condensed did not jump at all, and they were stable like real silver wires. Don't underestimate the thin sword like silk. This is the skill of the small sword weapon that is condensed with light. Its power is equivalent to the full blow of the small sword weapon. Looking at the sword light of the small sword weapon, the adults and children in the fishing village are all surprised. They have heard of the fairy before, but no one has seen the magic skills of the fairy. When I saw that Jianguang separated the turtle eggs like cutting tofu, they even widened their eyes. How sharp was the sword of Xianxia? The turtle egg was cut open, and the thick egg yolk and egg white flowed out. When the leaves were cut open, he found that the spiritual power in the egg was much more abundant than he had previously felt. Apparently the heavy eggshells affected the leakage of spiritual power. This is even better. Yekong was going to cut a turtle egg, which was diluted for several children to eat. With such ample spiritual power, children are afraid that they will not be able to bear it. So Yekong cut 2 more turtle eggs, poured a large pot of water, and diluted them to make omelette, so that everyone in the village can eat one. This day is the happiest day ever on this island. Adults and children, everyone's face is full of smiles from their hearts, running back and forth, talking about food. In the evening, the sea breeze was soft, and there was a touching red cloud in the sky, which made everyone's face smeared with rouge. Outside the little girl Wu Yanjiang's house, there were more than a dozen tables, and everyone in the village sat out. They brought out the best food in the house, food and drinks, just like Chinese New Year. When Yes fried turtle egg comes up, everyone will be even happier. For decades on this island, they have always picked out turtle eggs for sale. Has anyone tasted the taste of this turtle egg? Not to mention, it tastes pretty good. Yekong took a sip, raised the jug in his hand and said, "Dear folks, this tortoise egg is the egg of a 3-eyed tortoise. It contains the magic power of Xianxia. After eating, you can strengthen your bones and strengthen your body. Let everyone go to sea. It's more powerful to fight wind and rain. Children eat even smarter and win glory for our Wujiakan." After Yekong finished speaking, the villagers laughed, while chopsticks forked towards the fried eggs. However, Yekong also said, everyone should also pay attention to the rich spiritual power of this turtle egg, which is eaten by the cultivator. Everyone can only eat 2 pieces, otherwise it will be harmful to the body and not harmful among them. Spiritual power is not affordable. Those villagers who wanted to have a big meal were also careful, and each of them ate only 2 pieces. The little girl was sitting on Yekong's legs. Yekong picked up a piece of fried eggs for her to eat. Who knew that the young girl suddenly said, "I do eat, those little turtles are really pitiful." The turtle mother is afraid to die. That little turtle may also want to grow up, learn a lot, and want to travel all over the Kangnan continent, but we ate it. Childlike words are jealous and do not remember. The little girl who just said she didn't want to eat took a bite, and immediately smiled, and then stretched out her little hand to catch. She forgot what turtle mother. However, listening to the little girl's words, Yekong's heart was bright. That's right. Everything else is false. What dreams, what future, what mission, these things are all illusory. If you hang up, it's not fart. No fart. So the most important thing is to survive the immediate crisis, and those dreams can be realized. I know what to ask. Brother, this is the happiest day of my life. The little girl smiled happily. The smile was so simple and brilliant. At the same time, not far away, the old village chief Wu did not know but did not attend the dinner. He was sitting in the hall with 2 golden and fried eggs on the table. He sipped his wine and looked out the door. The wooden door was wide open, just to see the crowd of happy drinks. Wu wondered quietly watching. The corner of his mouth was smiling, but his eyes were bitter. Everyone wants a pair of bright eyes that can see the future, but can you be so happy if you can see it clearly? Wu sighed, and chewed up the fried turtle eggs, laughing, it really tastes good. The night finally came, and the sky was completely dark. The fishermen slept early, and after the banquet was gone, the villagers moved home with their tables and chairs. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 511. May 11th. Leave unknown island. Children are always easier to fall asleep. Wu Yangyang snoring in Yekong's arms long ago. Yekong put the little girl into the bed in the room, nodded slightly towards the couple, and took out something and put it on the table. Brother-in-law, these days are dead. There are 52 gold ingots, even if I pay for my accommodation. The fisher couple was startled, and the wine was awake. Although they sell turtle eggs to eat and drink, they are not worried, but this 52 gold is a huge sum of money. Xianxia, don't use it. The visitors are all visitors. How can we ask for money? The fisherman and his wife hurriedly quit. Yekong ignored it and pressed the gold ingot into the large tabletop with one hand, making it impossible for the fisher couple to take out. Then he said, my daughter and I are also destined, but she does not have the qualification to cultivate an immortal. I have just found a cheat book of secular martial arts, and some healthy elixir are left to her. I hope she can grow up, realize her wish. Yekong finished speaking, no longer striding out the door. A question came from behind the fisherman's couple, where will Xianxia come again? There will be no future. When I came to the small ancestral hall, Wu didn't know it had been waiting for a long time. He was not surprised to see Yekong come in. He waved Yekong to sit down, and then asked, say your question. Yekong nodded and said, one only has the right to chase dreams and hopes, so I must go through all kinds of dangers and live well, and my biggest danger at the moment is a trip to Kangbei, and I have no problem. I thought Senior Wu could give me some advice. You are very smart and pragmatic. Wu nodded, thinking for a moment, and said 2 rest words. When the mountain retreats, the water moves upstream, and when it encounters the treasure, it fires, fly less, walk more, and see 3 eyes and look back. Wu didn't know what to say, so he didn't explain any more. Ren Yekong asked again, he didn't answer. Yekong heard something inexplicable, and wanted to ask some details, but the old man didn't want to say more. He didn't know if it was useless or not, and he wanted to leave immediately. I didn't expect. Wu suddenly sighed and said, in your temperament, I'm afraid it's useless to teach you. I don't think there is a thing that can save you a life at a critical moment. Just give it to you. Wu did not know, and took out a black iron card. Yekong took it over, but felt that the spiritual power in the iron metal was strong, and he felt a shock. Looking at the iron plate again, there is a ferocious ghost head drawn. The ghost does not look cruel, and there is a copper coin engraved on the head, and I don't know what the strange Zongmen mark is. Looking at the bottom of the ghost, there are several numbers engraved, which seems to be the number of the iron plate. Turn the iron plate upside down, and you can see a few big characters, demon in black. Yekong looked surprised, but it wasn't the thing that saw the demon repair, but the word demon. According to the current situation in the Kangnan continent, the decent Taoists occupy the mainstream, and there are also demon repairers. That is just a trivial situation. I have never heard that demon repairs also form a denomination. Seeing him surprised, Wu didn't know with a smile. In fact, the practice of demon cults is different in their own cultivation methods, and there are not bad people in the demon gate. At that time, they were against the demons outside the country. So you do nt have to be surprised. Yekong nodded and said, I don't reject Moshiu, it's just the black demon. Why have I never heard of it? Wu wondered, I have already answered your question, and I cannot answer this question. If you want to know, just use it. But I advise you to use it when it is the most dangerous. After using this gadget, there will be some minor troubles. Although this iron metal is a thing of magic, but it is an item that can save one's life, it must be a good thing. I don't know if he can give it to himself, that is, he gave up an opportunity to save him, leaving the opportunity to himself. How could Yekong not thank him? After saying thank you, Wu urged Yekong to leave. While separating, he took out a compass and said, this thing is a fixed sea plate. Even if the weather is bad, you can easily find the direction. You fly in the direction of the blue tip, at your speed, about 3 the sky can see the coast, where is the decent realm of the Union UN Zone UN. Of course, you can also fly in the white direction, and there is the direction to the dead yin sect, but it is too far away, no one can't fly. Yes, if you do nt have a flying boat, I do nt recommend going north. Yekong took the dingai pan and asked, how many of the dingai pan, if I take it, what will you do if you go out to sea in the future? Wu didn't know a slight smile, and said, go, I won't be able to use the set of dishes anymore. Yekong thought they had a new dingai plate, and the old one would not be needed. So I didn't think much about it. I thanked Wu Wuzi's predecessor again, and then threw the flying sword into a stream of golden light that cut through the dark sea. After more than an hour, it was the deepest moment of the night. The weather was fine that night, and the bright moon hung high above the sea and sky. You can see strands of black clouds drifting away from the bright moon. The fresh sea breeze is gentle, warm and moist, and the rolling waves are like accompaniment, making people sleepy. The stars, embedded in the black night sky, are like glittering gems. Yekong proudly stood at the front of Jin Dunkyuo's sword, raised his head, and looked at the bright starry sky. With open arms, he seemed to take the entire starry sky into his arms. What a wonderful feeling, it makes people feel cheerful, makes people forget their troubles, and makes them feel the resonance and harmony of the world. The world is so beautiful, how beautiful it is to live, and the future is full of hope. Looking at the stars and singing with Hai Tao makes people seem to be integrated into nature and inseparable. Kang Hai. Thank you for giving me so much, thank you for taking care of me in March, and I'm leaving, Yekong shouted loudly, but this moment of poetry, but was again his last sentence broke, I'm going to leave, ha 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 ha. Isn't this the guy who was arrested by the Kingpeng Demon King? Yeah, no, we must hurry up and report to the Demon King. I'm afraid it's too late. The Demon King is not in Dongfu. All the seniors have to be recruited. Let's go to the unknown island. Maybe I can meet the Demon King and ask for a reward. Below the sea, 2 guys who probed their brains muttered under the cover of the night. If it's a general siren, Yekong is alright. After all, there is no deep hatred with these guys. They are clean and dressed, so why go to the water and kill them? Coincidentally, these 2 turned out to be swordfish that Yekong hadn't seen in a long time. Well, since you sent the sword to your door and the service is so good, how can I be polite? If I do nt accept it, am I sorry for you? The 2 swordfish also knew that Yekong had found them and reached out the long flying sword nose. These swordfish, like other monsters in the sea, are also clueless. It left its head underwater, thinking that others could not see them, but the 2 long flying fish swords had already been protruded out of the sea, let alone Yekong, a mortal can see clearly. Sword into silk. Yekong issued a slender and powerful sword gas, and a swordfish was split into 2 sashimi in the blink of an eye. A white Chinese-style flying sword with sword teeth floated on the sea. Try my Lushan claws again. A giant hand was disillusioned in the air, and the swordfish that wanted to escape was caught in the palm. Just when the giant claw wanted to knead the swordfish into a meat sauce, the swordfish shouted, "Let the gods live. I have an important report."